No, hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the MrWarrenHayes Show. I, of course, am Mr. Warren Hayes, and we are going to be talking about professional wrestling for a couple of hours here on the MrWarrenHayes Show. As I recorded this live on June 18, 2024. Yes, I record this live every Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, every Tuesday night on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes. You can join us there live. If you ever have the opportunity, we'd love to have you come and hang out in the chat and just chill out and have a good time. Those are indeed always fun times. So you can do that. And if you're watching this on YouTube right now on demand, that's just tremendous. But you can, if you wouldn't mind leaving a like here on the video and subscribing if this is your first time here, that would be tremendous. I do some pretty decent content, wrestling related content. Would love to have you hang around some more. So would love you to subscribe and be a part of the whole shenanigans. That would be great. And if you're listening to this on your favorite podcast application, well, that's tremendous as well. Thank you very much. 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, 5-star rating on Spotify is also tremendous. Just as is joining the MrWarrenHayes Show Discord. The link is in the description. Again, it's a nice little place to hang out and chat pro wrestling. We would love to have you there as well. But in the meantime, before we all go off to different ventures and Discords and, hey, let me write up a review and all that, let's get to listening to this podcast. Let's get to collecting our thoughts around some pro wrestling. We are going to be reviewing WWE Clash at the Castle 2024. We're going to be also talking about the G1 Climax 34. The field was announced, so we're going to break that down a little bit. Some news and notes, that happened in WWE and wherever, the AJ Styles and, going to Noah and Jeff Hardy and all that stuff. A bunch of little things. We got a busy show this week. So let's get right to it. Thank you for being here, everyone. Here we go. And we are going to start off. Look, we're going to start off and considering how big of a shockwave this sent up and down the world of professional wrestling, even though it's not my cup of tea, I think we have to address it, right? That's what you do when you cover pro wrestling. Sometimes you have to talk about things that, But we're going to get to the reviews. We're going to get to Clash at the Castle. We're going to get to New Japan Soul and the G1 stuff. Let's just get some little newsy notes out of the way. But at the end of Monday Night Raw this week, last night, because I record this on Tuesdays, as you all know. At the end of Raw last night, after the Jey Uso, Finn Balor, Rey Mysterio match, where that Jey Uso won. I can't hammer this enough. I don't want to make this another Jey Uso segment, but I do not understand how this guy keeps getting all these opportunities after just flubbing big time matches that he's put into. I don't understand. I don't get. In fact, no, let me retcon what I just said. I do understand it. And that's because he's got an entrance that people love. And that's essentially all you need in the WWE is to have an entrance that the people are really into and can sing along with you. So doing the yeet thing, people really love it. They love doing that. But then Jey Uso matches are very, very, very incredibly mid. I don't understand why, he's always in these positions. There really would be a moment in pro wrestling history where after the last couple of months, Jey Uso would have been benched. Promoter would have been like, we're good. Thank you for a while. It's okay. Anyway. So anyway, it doesn't matter. Like I said, it's not a Uso thing. He wins. He celebrates in the ring, and then the lights go out, and then Bray Wyatt's theme plays, and people start to appear. Nikki Cross is in a mask and she's crawling on stage. And then the camera goes backstage where we've got Ramblin' Rabbit, right? He's there with a big oversized mallet, a Harley Quinn mallet, right? And there's a bunch of people on the floor who are dead. That's what I'm assuming that's what we're led to believe, because there's blood splatter on the walls, and Chad Gable's been shot in the head, and then there's Mercy the Buzzard and Huskus the Pig, and because Huskus the Pig, he's got a gas mask now. He's inherited Dean Ambrose's last WWE gimmick, and there's corpses, and it's dark and it's spooky, and Gorilla Position has just been, everyone is dead, and then Uncle Howdy comes out, and then they all group together and take a family portrait. It's the Wyatt Sicks. Not SIX, because there's only 5 of them. The Wyatt SIKS, 6, as in they are sick in the head. They are sick of the flu. They are sick of this dumbass book. Look, this is okay. This was all something. It was the hammer Rowan used during the Bludgeon Brothers thing, was it? Okay, I don't recall. So there you go. So the hammer that was used was Eric Rowan's all Bludgeon Brothers hammer, right? Wasn't there a story about? I don't remember. There's a story about carrying the hammers to Saudi Arabia or something. Yeah, I'm setting myself up to fail. I'm like, oh yeah, wasn't there a story? No, I don't remember the story. It doesn't matter. So Uncle Howdy is there, and the whole gang's there. It's basically all of the puppets, right? It's Abigail and was it the Abby the Witch, right? Wasn't it Abby the Witch, and the Mercy the Buzzard, and the Ramblin' Rabbit, and the Huskus the Pig, and they're all there, and so this is all the Bray Wyatt stuff that had been anticipated by many WWE fans for a long time, and it's finally coming together. Now, I want to look. I said it at the top. This is not for me. This doesn't speak to me. This is too much. Like, I enjoyed, unironically, the original Bray Wyatt stuff when first of all, I've always kind of liked Bray Wyatt. When I say kind of, there's periods where I didn't like his stuff as much. But like Swamp Wizard Bray Wyatt, I still think is peak Bray Wyatt. I think that was great. And when he came back to do the Firefly Funhouse, I thought that was tremendous. And I was like, I thought I enjoyed it tremendously, and I love the meta aspects of it. And I remember sitting around with a bunch of people. I was reviewing for Fightful back then, and we were all sort of like going, as the minute Vince gets his claws into this, though, it's going to go to shit. Like Vince is probably just like, yeah, do whatever the hell you want. But the minute that this starts to work, pick up steam and make money, it all goes to shit. And that's precisely what happened. Because we were doing fine until Vince got involved, essentially, deeply into the creative of this, is what I'm trying to say. This didn't go on WWE without Vince knowing. I'm not trying to imply that this was some guerrilla campaign that was going on. No, Vince okayed this, but he probably didn't get it. But he started to get it when it started making money, and then for some reason we had to make the Fiend the WWE champion, or the Universal champion, or whatever the fuck. So, okay. I want to preface this because right now there is a very annoying trend going around social media where you're not supposed to criticize the Wyatt Sicks because Bray Wyatt, Wyndham Rotunda, is no longer with us, right? And this is supposed to create some kind of shield around it. And while ultimately I have respect for Wyndham Rotunda and what he did, and and I can see what his contributions meant to WWE fans and how important they are. I don't think anything is truly shielded from criticism, regardless. And I feel we had this conversation not that long ago. It's that I feel like the space for criticism in general is shrinking in pro wrestling because fans develop these weird parasocial relationships with pro wrestlers or the companies that they wrestle for, and then they become this phalanx of shields that are supposed to protect it from any type of criticism. Now, I think anything and everything is open to be criticized. It's difficult to criticize, like to absolutely sit here and be critical of what happened last night. It was an introduction. Were the things cool? Look, it was well shot. It was well done. I've got no complaints on that front. I can't say it wasn't well done. But the thing is that there are questions you can ask. It's like, okay, everyone was getting assaulted backstage. Why did the cameramen survive? Why weren't they attacked? Why were we getting pictures? You see what I mean? Like, there are things you can poke holes in because it's not well thought out, because it goes beyond the scope of pro wrestling. And this is ultimately my complaint. And if you're enjoying the Wyatt Sicks, if you enjoyed what happened last night and you're really into this and you've been doing the QR codes for the past 7 million years, it feels good. That's fine. Find your enjoyment in it, right? And I'm not going to point my finger and say you're a bad person for enjoying it, but at the same time, if I'm going to give you that level of respect, you have to be able to deliver the same unto me. When I sit here and tell you I don't get it, I think it's too much, and I don't think it's going to be good ultimately. And this is what WWE fans I fear are forgetting or just don't care about. Let me explain. Bray Wyatt, for all of the creative ideas and the charisma that he had, was most of the time, when involved in his Fiend gimmick and all the spooky stuff, he had essentially terrible matches. Off the top of my head, I remember one match that he had, which was pretty good, and it was against Bryan Danielson, or Daniel Bryan. Pick your poison here for that stage of the career. So you kind of expect to have a good match out of that. But other than that, you think back at the Hell in the Cells. You think back at the Swamp Rat match, whatever it was called, with Braun Strowman. You think back to the Inferno match. You think back to, hell, even before he was the Fiend and all of that, right? No, or was he the Fiend he wasn't the Fiend when we were doing the House of Horrors match, right? Remember that? Like, Bray overall was involved in bad matches because the gimmick over-gimmicked the matches and took away just about everything that made it interesting. And even upon his return, I feel like everyone, before he passed on, I think everyone has forgotten about the Mountain Dew Blackout match or whatever it was called, right? Yeah, like, when it comes to the in-ring, the spooky stuff, the magic, the nonsense ultimately is always going to take over. and make it a much more difficult thing to watch as a wrestling match. And I fear that WWE fans have forgotten that everything related to The Fiend and whatnot was extremely mid when it came down to it, when it was time to hit the ring and do stuff, right? But I feel WWE fans, chat is remembering all of the greatest hits, like Zach McGibbon, nice to see you, Gibby, great to have you, and King of the North as well, nice to see you, pal. But I say WWE fans are forgetting about this. But ultimately, my gut tells me they don't care. I don't think they care about a wrestling match happening within the context of the Wyatt Sicks. They want cool imagery. They want, spooky things. They want, glitchy TV screens and production that doesn't make sense. As long as they get the cool images, as long as they get the spooky imagery of all of these 5 people together, ultimately that's what they want. It was the same thing with The Fiend. It was the same thing with The Fiend, and we're going to get the same thing here as well. But I don't think WWE fans care. They want the show. They want the spectacle. This is what they want. So me as a wrestling fan, as opposed to a WWE fan, I'm like, I'm going to be sitting down at pay-per-views and the Wyatt Sicks are going to have a 20-minute, House of Mirrors match that's going to take place in a parking lot, on a fairground, some kind of stuff like that. And WWE fans are going to go nuts about it. And I'm going to be like, what am I watching? What am I doing here? And some people, I know because some folks just want this stuff. They want the spooky stuff. But then all I can answer to them, all I could tell them is, hey, if you want spooky things, there are so many better ways to get spooked than pro wrestling gimmicks. There truly is. Subscribe to Shudder or Screambox on your streaming services devices. Read a Stephen King novel. Watch a movie watch The First Omen if you want to get spooked out of your face. I watched a movie this weekend called Exuma. I'm a big spooky movie guy. Exuma, a Korean horror movie about graves and spirits. I thought it was terrific. Great feeling of dread, and it takes a little more to spook me to say, oh, this is than guys in masks standing around. So it doesn't, and Chad is saying it, and I agree. It blows my mind that pro wrestling fans want so much other stuff than pro wrestling on their pro wrestling shows. I really, they want as little pro wrestling as possible. They want the gimmicks. They want they want everything that looks like something else, where you could be getting the something else somewhere else, and much more well put together, much more well thought out. So I'm sorry to say, I'm going to be the one to say it. I think this is going to hit a wall faster than you can imagine. But then again, because the pro wrestling aspect, because look, again, let's be brutally honest. Who's in this group? Bo Dallas, Nikki Cross, Dexter Lumis, Eric Rowan, and Joe Gacy, right? All mid-pro wrestlers. Like each and every one of them extremely mid-pro wrestlers. And we're going what's the end game here? What are we supposed to expect out of all of this? We're not getting great matches out of any of these people. And this is not necessarily a knock. You know, I'm not the proof is in the proof is in their work, in the output that they have been doing for World Wrestling Entertainment. In some cases for years. Like these are just, they're mid-pro wrestler. What is the end game here? What's the end game for Uncle Howdy? Title match against Cody, excuse me. Corey. You know, Cody Rhodes versus Uncle Howdy for the undisputed whatever the fuck title. Is that what we going for? Is that maybe this is exactly what WWE fans want? But why would I want to see Cody Rhodes and Bo Dallas in a main event on any show? You know, and there's going to be wacky stipulations, and they're going to do all sorts of junk to take us away from the reason that we're watching. And again, I don't mind a little creativity. I don't mind things. I don't mind trying things out. And let's point to something else that wasn't tickling my fancy. How about that? How's that for an expression? Something that hadn't been tickling my fancy for a while now. Timeless Tony Storm, right? At first I thought it was cute, but they dove too much into it for a while, and I was like, this is too much, and I don't like it. I don't understand what they're doing with it. And now they're sort of recentering the gimmick. Not as much nonsense, but now they brought it back down to earth a little bit, and she's back to having good matches. Where before the gimmick would interfere in her having good matches. And this is Tony Storm. We're not talking about a schlub. We're not talking about, a Dexter Loomis here. This is Tony Storm who can legitimately have great matches. Why are we neutering this, right? Why are we neutering Tony Storm in this gimmick? But then ultimately everything worked out, and I think we've got a good balance between the gimmick and the wrestler for matches. The Wyatt Sicks is all gimmick. It's all paint. It's all window dressing. I don't know what's going to happen, right? I don't know what they're going to try and do with this. Are they going to fight over the World Heavyweight Championship? That's fine. No one cares about that title anyway. It's a nothing title. It's meaningless. Doesn't mean a thing. Who are they going to feud with? Seth Rollins? Because Cody's on SmackDown, right? Immediately I see the gimmick. I'm like, it looks cool, but immediately I think, what are we doing with this? How is this going to work within the confines of a wrestling match? And then I'm like, I'm overthinking it because WWE fans are gonna gobble this up. This is what they want. This is the kind of stuff that they love. So it's not that big a deal. But as wrestling fans, we're going to look at this and we're going to... Like last night, everyone backstage was murdered, right? If it was not, it was certainly the implication. They'll probably come back next week and say, "Oh, we were able to get everyone treated at hospital." There was blood stains everywhere on the walls. There were spray patterns. Usually, when you see that type of imagery, it doesn't imply that there are survivors. We got some environmental storytelling, essentially, where you see the bodies hanging around and you're like, oh shit, putting a little story together. And So that's why I think, you know, that's why I think this is not going anywhere. Like it, and we're going to hit a wall fast, and we're going to be doing goofy matches under black lights or whatever the fuck. Like they're gonna find some way to make these matches wacky, you know, and mask all sorts of stuff, and there'll be people coming out from under the ring and whatever. Like it doesn't matter. None of it matters. I don't know how. I don't know how they're going to pull it off. And they flubbed it with Bray. They did. And anyone who doesn't think so is, anyone who tells you the opposite is lying to you. They messed it up with Bray. They messed up the Fiend, and they were on their way to messing it up again before he passed away. Just look at what they did at the Mountain Dew match a couple of years ago. They fucked it up. They're going to fuck this up too. Oh, but Triple H is I don't see the big differences in the booking. You can tell me that people can say wrestler instead of sports entertainer. You can get really excited because they're talking about, you know, New Japan and the IWS on pay-per-view or whatever, or on TV, where I'm like, no, they're doing the base minimum. You can get excited for all the basic minimum things they should be doing. That's fine. But hey, oh, they're working with TNA. All right. I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced that there's going to be this great, that we're on the cusp of this great revelation, this great revolution. And this has nothing to do with Bray Wyatt. See, it has nothing to do with Bray Wyatt. And I think my criticism is fair. I think my criticism is absolutely fair. I think it's okay to sit here and wonder what's going to happen. What's going to happen ultimately to the legacy of the man. I don't know if it's going to suck, or if it's going to be great. I don't. But based on the track record, I wouldn't have confidence. I wouldn't be here putting up a shield to defend WWE. Especially not in this case, even if it is something that I, as a fan, had been clamoring to see for years. I don't know. We'll keep an eye on it, of course, here on the MrWarrenHayes Show. You can count on that. All right, let's move on. We have ourselves, okay, so Ricochet, right? I just got to follow up on this from what we were talking about last week, right? We were talking about last week about the reports that came from PW Insider and Fightful Select. The Ricochet was done, right? And Dave Meltzer said, according to those, he threw his hat in here, and well, in fact, it was after the PW Insider report, but before the Fightful Select report, where Dave threw his hat into the ring and said, you know, according to those close to the situation, everything is up in the air. That's what he said. And then Fightful Select came around and said, no, he's leaving. And it was reported that last week's Raw was Ricochet's last contracted day with the company. And that might not be super true, because apparently there's been rumors going around that Ricochet might still have time on his contract, and that he's not done yet, you know. And honestly, if he is indeed not done and he still has some time on his contract, I don't know why he wasn't brought in last night on Monday Night Raw to get killed by the Wyatt Sicks. Right? Anyway, but look, apparently his contract is not up, but it not entirely up, but it will be up soon, right? To the degree that he's apparently, and look, Tony Khan did an appearance. I don't remember where exactly, but he was asked about, Ricochet's status, and Tony flat out said, "I don't want to talk about pro wrestlers whose contracts are not up, about other pro wrestlers whose contracts are not up," something to that effect, basically saying, no, his contract's not up, and I'm not touching this with a 10-foot pole. So I think there is veracity to this, but again, it might be coming up soon. And even Joe Lanza over at Voices of Wrestling was reporting that Dragon Gate has showed some interest in having Ricochet over for, at the very least, a one shot for Kobe World, which is their big annual show, which is going to be this July. And Ricochet had a tremendous Dragon Gate run a couple of years back. He's often considered, along with Pac, to be, one of the most important foreign wrestlers to have wrestled in Dragon Gate. So that's still something that could happen, which is interesting to think about, especially when you consider that. But the Dragon Gate company now is not the same as the Dragon Gate company back when he was doing his tours of Japan. My initial reflex was to look, I will believe Ricochet is gone when he is gone. Because I still have trouble believing that he's not going to re-sign, that he was, that he's been choosing this path and so on and so forth. And sure, maybe he hit a wall and was like, "No, I can't take this anymore. They're never going to push me. I'm always going to be a geek." Like that Chad Gable guy. I'm done with it. I want to move on. I want to try something else. And maybe, but until I actually see that man, Trevor D man, somewhere else, another promotion, wrestling there, I'm going to hold on to some. I'm going to hold on to some. What's the word I'm looking for? I'm not going to buy into it 100%. There you go. How about that? I don't know why I can't think about words. I can't think words. I'm not going all in just yet, even though the prospect of him leaving is fine, because Chad Gable decided to stay. Here's the thing. Here's the thing with Chad. Well, that's the report, right? Is that he decided to stay. But after Monday Night Raw, after Hassle at the Castle, and after Monday Night Raw this week, if you were telling me, "Oh no, Chad Gable's on his way out," I would have believed you. Loses at the pay-per-view and comes in on Monday, gets shoved around by his geeks, and then gets murdered backstage. I'd be like, sure, Chad Gable's on his way out. If you were to tell me he is leaving the company, I would 100% believe you. But he's going to stay there, and he's going to continue being used as a geek. Because you cannot tell me that this grand push that everyone has been telling me about regarding Chad Gable has bore any fruit for him. Everyone was telling me, "Oh, he's going to stick around and he's in the biggest push of his career," which he was, until it turned out he's just doing the same thing, the same goofy gimmick. From the moment the environment around Sami Zayn, the Intercontinental title and Sami Zayn and Gunther, all of that could have started to make you believe. Or you're like, they're finally going to do something with him. But no, he's a dork. He's a geek. He's back to being a geek. If you're getting pushed around by Otis, right? If you're being clobbered upside the head backstage as, like an extra, you are not being taken seriously, pal. You are not being taken seriously. And right now, WWE is basically Apollo cruising him. And if you're a longtime listener, you know what I'm talking about. When I used to do the reviews for WWE stuff, I would say constantly that Apollo Crews had been handled in a way that I don't care what they do with him. Every time there was a draft, he'd be moved to the other brand and they'd do nothing with him. They'd job him out a bit and then they'd do nothing with him. So it's like every time they would send him over to another brand with every draft, and it's like, oh, this may be the career change that Apollo Crews needed every single time. And every single time it fell flat on its face. So you come to a point where you see Apollo Crews and you say to yourself instinctively, there's no point in getting into this guy. There's no point in getting invested in this guy. They don't believe in him. And I think it's the same thing with Chad Gable. It's the exact same thing. They give you bursts, but nothing ever comes out of it. He's back to being a geek. He was supposed to ditch the heel stuff, the evil instructor thing. Well, he was right back to being an evil instructor for his feud with Sami Zayn. And then Otis walks away and Maxine wants. What the hell are they going to do with Otis as a singles wrestler? Worse yet, what the hell are they going to do with Maxine Dupree as a singles wrestler? This is not going to be a benefit for Otis. What do you think they're going to start doing with Otis? What is the big plan for Otis? Maxine Dupree stinks. She can't do this on her own. And Chad Gable, going to be an afterthought more than anything else. Anyway, I got off track here. Nonetheless, he's supposed to have stayed. He's supposed to be staying. But again, you could fool me. As we are recording this live, on a Tuesday night while Michael Hickenbottom's NXT is on, Chad is reporting that Joe Hendry just showed up in NXT, as I thought he would. I think didn't I mention it last week? I think it's on tape. Of course he was going to show up because he has a song. And then they put him in the Battle Royal for the Trick Williams thing. And they eliminated him first. Because he is also a geek. He might have a song that charted high on a very local iTunes list, but Joe Hendry is a geek. He is a mid wrestler. I'm sure the WWE Universe were very excited, but I am also sure that the WWE Universe never saw a Joe Hendry match. And like I said a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about Joe Hendry, the last time I saw him on a TNA pay-per-view, I asked, where are the great Joe Hendry matches? People love him so much. People think he's such a talent. Where are the great Joe Hendry matches? I don't know where they are. Anyway, thank you for that update here. Just as we are going to get this update from Noah, who teased last week a major announcement with WWE. There was a lot of speculation. And I had the feeling that it was going to be a talent exchange. There was some speculation that it was going to be Charlie Dempsey heading on over there again. But turns out at the Noah event this past weekend, AJ Styles appeared on a video screen saying that he's going to be back in Japan to challenge Naomichi Marufuji for a match at the Noah Destination on July 13. So, like I said, you know, this it was speculated it was Charlie Dempsey. This is a considerable upgrade from Charlie Dempsey. Not that Charlie Dempsey's a bad pro wrestler. I mean, this is just like, this is the, you got yourself the star power here. That's very different. And it's an intriguing match as well. Not gonna lie. I don't know how this is gonna turn out, because I still think AJ Styles has it. We're gonna talk about it in a little bit. But his 2024 so far, you know, and whatever magic potion that he put together to have him look like Randy Savage is, you know, it's coming together. It's working. But he can still go. Marufuji, look, I think this would have been a better match 15 years ago. What wrestling match wouldn't have? Well, but I do believe that this is a match that we just skirted, that we just avoided, that should have happened a while back. We're getting it now. I don't know how Marufuji's going to handle this, because he's basically the, you know, he's not the guy he used to be, and I think a lot of people get excited off of the memory of Marufuji, kind of like how people get excited for Kenta because they're really excited of the memory of Kenta as opposed to what Kenta has become. Marufuji's not as bad as Kenta, don't get me wrong. But you know, good, cool. I think it would have been a better match, you know, a decade or so ago. Now, is this the continuing saga of WWE cozying up to the cyber fight? Sure. There's no smoke if there's no fire. And I still have trouble believing that WWE are doing this stuff out of the kindness of their own heart, if that makes sense. Like, I don't think they're doing this just, oh yes, let's come help the independent circuit in not the independent circuit, but let's go help the Japanese scene by sending our WWE superstars. But look, like I said, they did it with NJPW. This is twice that they do it with Noah, right? Because Noah, they did it with they did the thing with Shinsuke Nakamura for the retirement, for the Kaiji Muto retirement, right? And then they did it. It seems to me it was with NJPW. So I don't know. I don't know what to think about all of this. I do believe this would have been a better match a few years ago, that's for sure. But as for the future, look, again, we'll see how Japan has always been insulated enough to keep WWE out, and it has a rich wrestling heritage, history, and still presence today, even though the economy's suffering. It's not as, a lot of promotions are still rebuilding themselves after the pandemic. Everyone's doing their best here. I don't know. Look, I'm sure WWE would love nothing less than to hop into this market and make serious inroads, right? All they need is someone to open the door and enable them, right? So anyway, look, at least at this stage, we're going to get a very intriguing match out of all of this. But again, like, the question that I have nonetheless, this is the question that I still wonder, is I'm assuming that Pro Wrestling Noah is doing this stuff because it wants to attract WWE new viewers to their product, right? But everything that I know about WWE fans points to WWE fans not watching anything else than WWE, and considering everything else to be considering everything else in WWE to be like out of WWE to be inferior indies, even though these companies are owned by, multi-million-dollar corporations, they're still an indie. There's only for the standard WWE fan, there is only one promotion to watch. That's the one that they fixate on, that they want to see happen. And there's nothing else. So I don't know what the benefit is. I guess, like, if you're a WWE fan and you're freaking out at and you're like, you're sitting there and you're sweating and you're rubbing your nipples at the thought of the Wyatt Sicks. Why would are you going to shell out $10 to wrestle-universe.com to watch this match? I would say probably not. I don't think the average WWE fan is going to give a shit. And on top of it, I don't even think this match is going to be mentioned on WWE TV. Yeah, it's like, what is the benefit for Cyberfight, for Noah to do this? I don't understand it. I honestly don't. WWE fans are going to watch the clips on YouTube. They're going to watch the clips on X, formerly Twitter. They're gonna piece it together, and then they're gonna say, "Oh, what a great, fantastic match!" But they're never gonna watch, the 12, 15 minutes that AJ Styles and Marufuji are gonna go at it. Come on. Most of them didn't even watch Shinsuke and Great Muta, Keiji Muto. Most of them didn't even do that. You think they're going to watch Marigold because Io Shirai is showing up? Come on, let's be real. Again, I just do not understand. I just don't understand. Anyway. It's all fine. Don't worry about me. Jeff Hardy returned at TNA Against All Odds this past Friday. He saved Matt Hardy from an attack at the hands of the System following the main event. Jeff Hardy had last wrestled for TNA Impact in 2017. Of course, in this situation here, Moose defeated Matt Hardy to retain the TNA World title. And then the System did a beat down. Joe Hendry ran in to try and make the save, but he was geeked out because he's a geek. And then Jeff Hardy hit the ring with his music and everything with a flashy steel chair. One that he designed himself, folks. He's an artiste. And then he, does a swanton and everything. So, we were expecting this. Hardy's contract came up late last week. Goes and shows up on it goes to show up on TNA, and that's fantastic. It was time for Matt Hardy to move on from AEW, and Jeff being hired was just a bonkers hire for me. Like I legitimately think hiring Jeff Hardy was one of the worst hiring decisions Tony Khan has made in the history of AEW. I really do believe that. And everyone knew what he was coming in with, the baggage that he was bringing in, the injuries, and so on and so forth. And yet, TK was like, nah, we're going to do it. He wanted to do the Young Bucks versus the Hardys, right? That's what he wanted. It never happened. It just didn't come together because either Matt was getting concussed or Jeff was getting hurt. And no, he did not pay me to say that. I think it really was a terrible decision. I think Matt Hardy, when he came in, pandemic era and so on and so forth, I think he did have his use, and I think it was interesting, and it got people talking. But then at some point, it just, the Hardy home office, whatever it was called, all that stuff, and then just plain old Matt Hardy. It's fine. It's fine. And heading back over to TNA, that's fine too. Now, apparently they're not under contract with TNA. Apparently they're still freelancers. That's what they've been reporting. It could also be a lie, because professional wrestlers lie. They are professional liars. Also, I don't know why he'd lie about that. Unless it's like this, an indirect way of saying to WWE, hey, by the way, we're not, So that's it. And I watched a little bit of Against All Odds, but I find TNA to be it's not my palate these days, and it's a shame. Oh, and Tatum Paxley showed up. She was the big reveal, the big mystery reveal for Jordynne Grace's open challenge to anyone. No one else came out except Tatum Paxley from NXT. There's your big crossover. See, TNA will send you unquestionably their biggest, the biggest star of their women's roster, and you in exchange will send Tatum Paxley. Not exactly the most thrilling and equal footing send back. Again, I don't know who watching WWE, specifically NXT, bought this pay-per-view to see who was going to show up from the NXT show. I don't know who, again, I do not understand what these plans are that these people have with NXT and WWE. People aren't going to show up for Tatum Paxley. It's not going to generate new viewers. If you're geeking out Joe Hendry from TNA in a battle royal, first guy eliminated out the door, it's not going to make NXT viewers go, oh, this guy's pretty good. It's like, no, this guy's a geek. He's from the Geek Show. I'm not going to watch the Geek Show. That's just disappointment. It's disappointing. That's all it is. And the match wasn't it's fine, but nothing remarkable, as you probably would have expected from a Tatum Paxley match, I guess. See, the way that I see this TNA thing shake out, right, is that they're doing this crossover stuff with NXT. They think it's going to generate new viewers. It won't. And they're going to end up losing one of their biggest marketable stars in Jordynne Grace. She's just waiting at this point for her contract to come up with TNA. You don't think she's jumping? She's jumping to WWE the minute that the very second when that clock strikes midnight. She's rushing to the PC. TNA is going to be losing here. They're on the losing end of things. For good or ill, the AEW partnership with TNA made a lot more sense. Who was the talent that was showing up on TNA programming? Kenny Omega, the world champion, one of the greatest wrestlers in the world, who also happened to be at the time the world champion of the company. So what did it do? It boosted pay-per-view sales and it boosted TV ratings. It's there. The data is there. You can go back and check it. Did some people stay behind? Probably. Not tons, but probably. Probably created a few more viewers. That's a whole other discussion. But at least you're trading top talent. You know what I mean? This TNA is going to be losing one of their top women once all of this is done. This is the avenue, and they're not going to see any spike in viewership or in pay-per-view sales, because just like I was talking about for the Noah stuff, WWE fans don't watch anything else. They'll wait for the clips to show up on Twitter. Just as simple as that. I don't understand the benefits. But now we are going to be talking about WWE Clash at the Castle. The review of this premium live event that occurred in Glasgow, Scotland at the OVO Hydro this past weekend, June 15, 2024. 11,391 people in attendance that they announced. Then had Michael Cole saying 14,000 people a couple of times. They did not fill out this building. I had talked about this a few weeks ago when the controversy regarding the price of the show was a thing. I don't know if you recall. People were talking about how the show how they had overpriced the show, priced out the territory essentially, because of just too much, hundreds of pounds to go see a WWE show, and people were like, I can't afford this, right? Well, I guess it kind of hit people in the pocketbook because the show didn't fill out. However, after the show, Paul Levesque announced that this was WWE's highest gate for a live event in the history of WWE. Yes, outperforming Backlash France. And I have to give it to them, to WWE, for not trotting out someone to the middle of the ring to say, this is the highest amount of money we've made off the backs of you marks. You know, like they did in France, which I thought was appalling, and that people cheered for, and I thought that was even more appalling. You don't go out saying to people, look, in this small arena here, You guys paid more money than anyone else that usually pays for our shows. Thank you. They didn't sell out the show. They didn't sell out the building. And it still was the biggest recorded gate for a PLE in the history of the company. Bigger than Backlash France, which was sold out or very close to. Exactly. Thank you for the money. At the very least, they didn't go out and, like I said, and plant someone in the middle of the ring to talk about it, right? At the very least, they left them that dignity. They had to leave them some kind of dignity. Because this show, nah, that's not fair. I don't think this was a bad show. I don't think this was a bad show. I don't think it was a good show. I think it was mediocre. And look, when I previewed the show last week, what did I tell y'all? I said this is a B show. This is a house show that's masquerading as an important show. And that's kind of what we got. You know, the stars were there, and this show is the tale of two matches, pretty much again, and everything. And this is how Paul Levesque does his pay-per-views, right? I think we're starting to see the pattern here. He starts with a hot match, finishes with a hot match, and then the sandwich in the middle, who cares? It could go all over the place, and it doesn't matter. But then you're sitting there for like 2 hours. And look again, let's do the same exercise as we did last time. And this was a 3 hour show, right? It started at 2 p.m. Eastern. We were done at 5, and there were 5 matches on it. And we still ended up with a bunch of nonsense, right? Let's see, like 24 minutes, 47, and was the first match. This is according to Cage Match, 12 minutes and 17 seconds for the women's tag. Then Sami Zayn went to 22:13. And then 13:32. And then 2018. And we're doing this live, folks. And now we're in 33 minutes of wrestling on a 3 hour show. Literally half of the show was wrestling. And the other half was nothing. Was entrances, was commercials, was all this. And I'm sitting there stunned, and I'm like, we could have got this done in under 2 hours. This is a 2 hour show that was stretched out to 3. Like, I would not be surprised if people in Scotland really got angry and decided not to go back. Like, we know how it all ended, right? We'll talk about the match in about itself. We all know how it ended. And then people were posting videos of the people in Scotland booing. Say, poor Samantha Irvin. Don't boo Samantha Irvin. Samantha Irvin, no one's booing Samantha Irvin. Samantha Irvin is carrying the message. And she starts it out by saying, I know you didn't get the ending you wanted tonight. Well, what the fuck are you so... She brought it on herself, if anything. And we're not booing her. We are booing the situation. Where people paid hundreds of dollars, pounds, to see this show, to likely see Drew McIntyre win the big one. Let's be honest. And he gets screwed again. And you think, oh no, people, you shouldn't boo. Don't boo. Fuck you. Absolutely boo. Throw things in the ring. Get mad. It's like when people went to Elimination Chamber in Montreal last year. Guess what they wanted to see? Guess what they wanted to see? No, it took a full year after that. Full year and a couple of months before Sami Zayn got his big singles win for the Intercontinental title. A title which he's held before. I don't know why Sami Zayn was Memphis Heat. Yeah, okay. But the tickets in Memphis were like, what, $10? Like, it's easy to go back next week. You know, what are you going to do next time next time it goes to Glasgow? You do what? You pay $150. Anyway. Sammy being positioned as a babyface underdog was always fascinating to me because he's a multi-time Intercontinental champion. I was like, oh, but it's Gunther. Yeah, but he's a former champion. It doesn't it rang very false to me. Anyway, why don't we just get to the review stuff, right? I'll open up my notes here too. We'll be all ready to go. Is this it? Yeah, Clash of the Castle. Cody Rhodes defeated AJ Styles in an I Quit match. So I liked the match to a degree. I thought both guys worked really hard. But I also think that both guys were hindered by all of the usual WWE I Quit match tropes that you have seen a million times at this point. And that are just annoying, and then you expect them at some point, you know. But they worked hard. I thought this was pretty good. I give it 3.5 stars, and it's honestly, all of it is on the effort that was put into this match. Right? We've got 8.30 on Cage Match, which I think is nuts. Like, you know, that it's not that good. Not that high. But you know, we got a little surprise here at some point. You know, Cody Rhodes takes a bump and then he lifts his head up and there's blood, and I'm like, wait, what? Excuse me? Are we running the razor in WWE now? Now I'm like, okay, maybe we are seeing some drastic changes here. This to me is much more significant than, oh, they can say wrestler now in the ring. Like, if there was one guy who was going to run the razor in WWE before everyone else was Cody. But now I'm thinking he probably used a blood packet. Because Cody bleeds more than this. Like, at some point, it was just gone. And I was like, well, this is fishy. Cody Rhodes bleeds more than this. So I think a blood packet was used. Nice effort. You almost got me. The handcuffs are used, and AJ Styles gets into an argument with Cody's mom, who's there. He flew her to Glasgow, I guess. But there is this tremendous spot, this absolutely tremendous spot, where AJ goes for the phenomenal forearm. Cody throws a chair at him, which causes AJ to fall off to the floor through a table. And I'm like, there you go. That's the AJ Styles I know. That was pretty cool. And, you know, the ending was, you know, Cody Rhodes ties AJ Styles up. He gets out of the handcuffs, of course. They always do. And then he ties him up, you know, in the corner. and Cody pummels AJ Styles with a chair, and then he picks up the steel stairs and he wants to, launch them at AJ, and AJ says, no, I quit, I'm sorry, I quit. And that's how the match ends. And then Cody, after the match, throws the chairs on him anyway. And I'm like, isn't he the baby face? What is that? What is that? But look, I thought it was a solid match. I preferred the Backlash France match, which I thought was a great match. I thought that was my favorite Cody Rhodes match of the year. Probably some of the best work we've seen AJ Styles do in WWE for a while. It was a legitimately great match. This, it was all, you appreciate the effort, but WWE gets in its own fucking way with these I quit matches. It took me out at a point. It took me out. After the match, Cody is celebrating and Solo Sikoa comes out with what did Kevin Owens call the bootleg bloodline? That is a fucking great line. And of course it comes from Kevin Owens. The bootleg bloodline come out to attack Cody, and then Kevin Owens and Randy Orton come out to save because they're all feuding with the bloodline. I mean, yikes. The bloodline's not cool anymore, right? And everyone's just waiting. Everyone's just in a holding pattern, waiting for Roman to come back, right? And we did not see Tala Tonga. We only saw Shorta Tonga and just right a Tonga, but not Tala Tonga. Look, good for them. This is what they have Cody doing. This is, post WrestleMania Cody. He's fighting the bootleg bloodline. I think Solo Sikoa has a lot of qualities, but he is not this level of guy. He's really not. Maybe this is the point. Maybe, legitimately, he's just keeping Roman's place warm. Because when Roman comes back, this is all, it's all going back to what it was, right? Right? With the Tongans now. The Unholy Union, which is, did you know that Alba Fire and Isla Dawn's tag team name was the Unholy Union? I didn't. Because they're never on television. They never wrestle. We dusted them off for the Scottish show. Because Alba Fire's Scottish. Is Isla Dawn Scottish? I don't think she is. Is she? Oh yeah, she is too. Okay, they're both Scottish. What in the world? Do you want to hear something funny? Because I just popped onto Cage Match just to confirm her birthplace, and this just popped into my eyes. There's a comment. You want to hear this? I'll read this comment on Isla Dawn's Cage Match profile. I'm just going to read the first sentence. Isla Dawn has the most beautiful, creamy skin of any professional wrestler that I have seen, and a lovely face as well. Having said this, I do not care for her white witch gimmick with all the extra makeup. As for her wrestling skills, she has powerful kicks and is pretty strong as well. She's one of my favorite wrestlers, and I hope she stays in the business a long time. The most beautiful, creamy skin of any professional wrestler I have seen, and a lovely face as well. This comes, and he doesn't like the extra makeup. From Cat Fights for Wrestling. That is the username. Hang on a second. Oh, shoot. I don't think I have a cage match. Because I don't have an account because I wanted to see what other comments he has. They have, I should say. Cat Fights for Wrestling. In regards to, if you know, what else are they saying about other pro wrestlers? The most beautiful creamy skin. Anyway, the creamy skinned Isla Dawn and Alba Fire defeated Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill and Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark to become the new. Yeah, we're going full circle here. To become the new WWE Women's Tag Team Champions. I thought this match was a mess. It was no. I think it was okay for a while, but then the botch happens. You all know the botch. You know what I'm talking about. It's been clipped more than enough on the internet. From that point on, everything just fell apart, and Jade completely lost her way. In case you didn't watch it, Jade botched a springboard coming into the ring on a hot tag, and stuff just fell apart. No one seemed to be able to pick up the match and just be like, okay, let's go, right? And the finish was a little weird too. They did the thing where all the faces do their offense, and then the heel comes and throws out the baby face at the very last minute to cover to do the cover and steal the win. Essentially, that's what creamy skinned Isla Dawn did. Listen. Yeah, I've seen multiple people online defending Jade, saying the ropes were loose, whatever the fuck. I was seeing all sorts of other wrestlers doing moves from the top rope and everything was fine. AJ Styles, did a whole thing where he was supposed to springboard off of the, and fell backwards. I don't know. The only person I saw botch a top rope move using the top ropes, I should say, outside of Damian Priest, that's a whole other story, is Jade. Everyone was using the ropes just fine. Why was Jade the problem? Well, I'll tell you why. Jade Cargill is exactly in the same spot that she was when she left AEW and she was brought into WWE. And she was squirreled away for, how long was it? 7 months? 8 months when she came back? She was hired in September last year. And now she's all the way over here and she's still the same. And I was told that the Performance Center were going to make a star out of her. They were going to fix all these tweaks. Triple H even, he snidely, said something to the effect that, she wasn't getting proper training, or it wasn't that strong, but, he insinuated that AEW weren't training her well, and that they were going to train her well. And here's the thing. This is right, because right now I feel like a lot of WWE fans are turning on Jade. That's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing WWE fan going after WWE fan because some of them are defending her and some are not, or going after her. But I think AEW fans, people who were familiar with, not even WWE, AEW fans, people who were familiar with their work are just sitting back and saying and shrugging and going, yeah, well, we knew, we tried to warn you, we tried to tell you, but you wouldn't listen. Why didn't you listen? But at the same time, WWE fans are conditioned to believe that this performance center that they have is this magical solution to a bad wrestler's problems, right? You just, you airlift someone, you drop them in, and it's like, there you go. There she is. She's going to be so much better now because she's being trained in this facility. And they're trained to believe that. Whereas when you believe, not when you believe, but when you take a minute to think about the output of the performance center, of the number of professional wrestlers, the PC, developmental in WWE, has created and has brought onto the main stage. When you think about the number of wrestlers that have done it, it is far less than you think. And I'm not talking FCW people. I'm not talking indie superstars that were brought in that had like 10 years behind them. I'm not talking about Kevin Steen and El Generico and Adam Cole and so on and so forth, right? I'm talking people born and bred from the PC to the main roster. Bianca? Sure, absolutely. Who else? I don't have a list prepared. I didn't prepare this rant. I'm not slapping all this together. Like, who else? I'm legitimately asking, who else was brought up? Because it seems to me, Alexa Bliss. Well, Braun Breaker, you could argue, but I kind of feel like he's an FCW guy, personally. But I get what you mean. Yeah, look, Nia Jax is not a great example. Braun Breaker and Tiffany Stratton might be some saving graces here. Fingers crossed. Like right now, like right now, Aaliyah. Alexa Bliss had her time in the sunshine, but it wasn't because of her wrestling skills. Roman is absolutely an FCW guy. And this was even before the PC was set up. I'm talking Performance Center. So we might even be confusing some people here. The output isn't as great as one would lead you to believe, right? I think they were on track with Velveteen Dream to probably be like their most successful product, I guess, but the point anyway that I'm trying to make is that the WWE Performance Center is not like this instant star making machine, and it doesn't have this reputation. The output isn't mind-boggling, and Jade is Jade. Jade is absolutely what you see is what you get at this point. I don't see her making any progress. But then again, Does it matter? Not unlike when we were talking about the Wyatt Sicks before. Does it matter that Jade can go in the ring or not? I would argue for the average WWE fan, it does not. They want to see her come out in cool costumes, cool gear, you know, homages to the Road Warriors and whatever the fuck. Flex. Because you can't take all of that. You can't take all of that away from her. Her naturals, her look, the star power. But at some point, she's hitting her own ceiling. I think the ceiling's hit. I don't see how she's gonna. I don't see it. I don't see it. And Bianca Belair, in the meantime, she is going to have a shoulder injury with all the carrying she's been doing. And I'm not joking. Well, I'm joking about the injury part. That was that was a joke. But she is absolutely she is absolutely tasked with making Jade a thing, making Jade look good. And in the meantime, I think it's hurting her. I don't understand what they're doing with Bianca Belair. Bianca Belair is an absolute bona fide superstar. She should be at the top all the time. She should always be in the mix of things, in the thick of things. She always has to be doing something interesting. This is not interesting. Her going from having some great WrestleMania matches over the past 3 years, over the previous 2 WrestleManias, right? The one with Sasha specifically, and then coming into this WrestleMania this year in some multi-person match, being relegated to the mid-card in a nothing match where she's doing all the fucking heavy lifting, and I mean that both literally and figuratively. They are doing Bianca Belair a disservice. She is a star for them. She is a product of that PC from top to bottom that absolutely does work. Charisma, presence, star power, athletic ability, wrestling skills. She's got it all. And they can't figure out what to do with her. Insane. Sami Zayn defeated Chad Gable to retain the Intercontinental title. I absolutely hated this match. I hated this match so much because you really here's the thing. You really had the potential to have a great match with Sami Zayn, who at one time on God's green flat earth was one of the best professional wrestlers out there. He was one of the top 5 professional wrestlers in the world. And he can still go. You could have had him and Chad Gable, you know, Chad Gable, who everyone in WWE has has this hard on for because he can wrestle. WWE fans don't care about the wrestling until they actually have a proper professional wrestler in their midst. Then they're going to get real excited about pro wrestling. Then they're going to say, look, we got pro wrestling too. So Chad Gable and him could have gone out there and burned the house down. Instead, it was an extended angle with Otis and Maxine Dupree doing stupid faces around the ring. This woman has nothing. She's got nothing to contribute to this business. She's not charismatic. She's not a good actress, and she's a terrible pro wrestler on top of that. And all this was angle and shtick and, oh, here, take this belt and clock Sammy when he comes, and then he doesn't, and then they're staring at each other, and then there's community theater. It all stunk. I hated it. I hated this match. I gave it 2 stars. The women's tag, I gave it 2.25. This, I gave it 2. Let's move on. Bayley defeated Piper Niven. This match wasn't bad. But the Chelsea Green interference is stupid. Not a bad match, but really not great. I lacked heat. You know, I felt like Scotland, the people in Glasgow in the arena, like when Alba Fire and Isla Dawn came out. There wasn't that big of a pop. There wasn't that big of a reaction, right? And you're like, why is that? Well, because they're never on TV. And I think Piper Niven got a little more, but I didn't think. Why? Because she's never on TV. Well, she is on TV with Chelsea Green doing goofy shit. Then again, like, just have a match, and then Chelsea gets expelled from ringside, and then she comes back with a luchador mask, and I'm like, come on. Enough's enough. I don't know. And you know, again, you know, Bayley's been injured multiple times. She's not the performer she used to be. And I have always been very high on Bayley. I've always been a big fan. I will always be part of the contingent that believe that she should have been brought in as the female John Cena. They had her. She was super popular. She was one of the original NXT layups that main roster fumbled. You know what? There's a history of those, right? Of call-ups and Vince getting in the way, or so it's been told. And Vince going, hey, you know what? We're going to do this with you. Or Vince not getting it. Bayley was an easy layup. And then they struggled to find something to do with a natural, charismatic, exciting babyface that people were really endeared to. And they had to turn her heels, during the pandemic for anything to work. I really don't have much to say about this match, quite frankly. You know, I even remember when Piper Niven when she was Viper. When she was Viper on the indies, and because she mentioned it in a promo, right? It was, I was here while you were doing this in Brooklyn. I was leading the charge of of change in UK wrestling, and she was, and I have fond memories of watching Viper wrestle, but I don't know. I guess they because Viper is one of these big wrestlers that can do a lot, but in WWE, if you're a big wrestler, you have to wrestle a certain way, you know? You can tell like the reins are being pulled back. You can tell. So she lost to Bayley. No celebration in Glasgow for the native. And then the main event where Damian Priest successfully retained the WWE World Heavyweight title against Drew McIntyre. So yes, there was the botch in this one too, where Damian Priest like topes and gets his foot caught up, and he tangles himself in the top rope and is by the ankle. And I immediately do one of these, and I'm like, oh my god, this is potentially a disaster. This is not going to go well. Like this is bad news. This is bad news, brother. But he seemed okay. He seems okay. Everything seems to be all right. But these spots are just like, whoo. And yes, as Chad is pointing out, they recovered so much better than the women. Why? Because these are wrestlers that have been wrestling for years outside of the system, and instead of following the way that WWE teaches things, where it's like you have to listen to the agent and how everything was planned, and you don't deviate from the agent's plan. You stick to it, no matter what. So then when something unexpected happens, they don't know what to do. Whereas Drew Galloway and Punishment Martinez, they've been doing this for years. They knew how to pick this up. Drew recovered wonderfully, started beating on him. People were asking for more. You could tell the referee was struggling to get him out of there. I was like, please do, get him out of there. And Drew was like, I got this. And then continued to beat up on him. Like, it's fantastic. And there's a barricade spot, they're kicking out of each other's finishers. And then there's a ref bump. Because of course there is, right? There, 5 matches on this card. And you have to have interference on 3 of them. More than half. You just gotta. And it's CM Punk who runs in with a ref shirt as Drew hits a Claymore, I think, and covers Damian Priest. And then Punk counts to 2. And they do the thing where, with the camera angle, where you don't see who it is exactly, right? They're shooting from the back. You don't see that it's CM Punk because the referee's coming into the shot and his back is turning and goes 1, 2, and then he stops. And then the next camera cuts to CM Punk. And that fucking annoys me. That's just, the entire arena is up on their feet. They're exploding. They see who it is. They know what's going on. But us schlubs at home, us ding-dongs at home. Nah, this kind of stuff really, really fucking annoys me. So he being CM Punk, kicks Drew in the balls, and then Drew gets covered by Damian Priest. Priest retains, and Drew gets screwed a second time, 2 years running in the same show in front of his countrymen, and this specifically in Scotland this time. Last time was in Wales, but people were, oh Christ, they wanted Drew to win. And now they do it 2 times in a row. And then we're supposed to chastise the Glasgonians, the Glasgites, the Glasgoans. What the? How do you call someone from Glasgow? This is usually on the Wikipedia page. A Glaswegian. Okay, thank you, chat. We're supposed to chastise the Glaswegians, who apparently paid out of their ass to make Triple H once again a very rich man. To have this finish happen, a fuck finish on a pay-per-view. Yeah, please be mad. It's okay to be mad. I'd be mad. I'd be mad to have a fuck finish where the guy that I'm expecting, like, it's only in WWE, right? Where you can conceivably imagine that the hometown guy in his hometown that is excited to see him, who is on the posters, that you've been advertising as being here, as being in the main event, as being, you know, in a big match. You could all... You have this guy here. Only WWE can then say, no, we're going to have him lose. That's why when people say, look, this genius booker that is Triple H, I don't buy it. This is a very Vince thing to do. This is the most Vince thing to do. Oh, it's great heat, pal. That's nuts. Why would you do this, you know? And Drew, not Drew, but Damian Priest, as a world champion, honestly, does anyone really, but let's just go with it. Does anyone really buy Damian Priest as a world champion? Right? Does anyone truly buy it? Because, you know, he cashed in his Money in the Bank to win it. He didn't win the title off of a big fight or whatnot. Does anyone really buy him as a top guy? I don't. And I think we got to stop pretending that he's, you know, a top guy, because he's not. Like that, like Chad is saying, he's going to be running into Gunther soon. And of course he's dropping the title to him. Of course. Punishment Martinez, Damian Priest, he's lost in this shuffle of guys. You know, they gave him the title for some good work, but he could drop the title anytime. And winning against Drew as CM Punk ran in to kick the dude to make sure that Drew didn't win is not doing him any favors. He's not this great champion. I don't buy it. I just don't. He looks like, you know, a tough, good-looking guy, but just a guy, just another guy. He doesn't look like a guy. He doesn't look like the guy. Drew, I think, is the complete opposite. Drew is a guy that you can buy as a top guy. And if they being WWE, if they want to continue messing around like this with their fans, you know, and not give, what is the big plan for the fake world title that absolutely has to involve Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre not winning the belt? Is it because of the CM Punk feud coming up and they want to give the belt to Gunther? You can do a change at Money in the Bank. You can do anything else on a Monday Night Raw. It doesn't matter. You could give the people what they want in Glasgow and let their guy win the big one 2 years in a row. He's been screwed over 2 years in a row. Are they doing Seth Rollins versus Priest at Money in the Bank? Is that really what they're doing? Because that, again, is it to put the belt back on Seth so that Seth will come across as a bigger challenge to Gunther? I think that's and a clear babyface heel demarcation as well. Right? Isn't that, there you go. So that, what was the point? God damn it. It's so dumb. I'm telling you, this company has not changed. You can try to tell me that Paul Levesque is some genius. I'm just seeing basic mistakes. Now, the match itself, I thought was well worked. I enjoyed it enough. I thought it was like, I liked it more than Cody versus AJ Styles. I give this 3 3/4 stars. Then all the fucking nonsense, takes you out of it. I don't know. I don't know what to think about all of this anymore. I don't know what WWE is doing, but I'll tell you what they're doing is not treading new ground. They're rehashing some of the old. That's what they're doing here. So, again, not a bad show, because I think 2 good matches on a 5-match card, especially when the matches are pretty good. I think it's worthwhile. I think it's worth not calling it bad, but I think it was mediocre because I think the execution is overall is perfectly WWE, and this was treated like a house show, like a B show. Didn't feel important. The results certainly didn't make it come across as an important show. They threw one bone to the local crowd, having Alba Fire and Isla Dawn winning, and there you go. That's all you need, sports. The girls who are never on TV won their match, boys and girls. There you go. You know what? I'm excited. I'm excited about the G1 Climax. I'm excited about the G1 Climax 34. This past weekend at the New Japan Pro Wrestling's Soul event, the G1 Climax 34 field was revealed. We talked about last week how things were going to be set up. We knew how it was going to be set up. Now we know who's going to be taking part of the tournament. So consider this a little bit of a preview here. We're going to break this down a little bit. So of course the tournament starts on July 20th. It's going to be ending on August 18. As a reminder, we've got 2 blocks. Back to 2, not 4. 2 blocks, 20 guys, 10 people per block. I couldn't be more excited. I had to mention it again. But this time around, in the announcements, for Block A, this is who we've got: Tetsuya Naito, Shota Umino, Shingo Takagi, Sanada, Great-O-Khan, Zack Sabre Jr., Gabe Kidd, Evil. And coming in from the outside, looking in, is none other than Pro Wrestling Noah's Jake Lee. And another person will round up that field to be announced. For Block B, Hiroki Goto, El Fantasmo, Yoda Tsuji, Jeff Cobb, Henare, David Finlay, Ren Narita, Yuya Uemura, Konosuke Takeshita is also going to be in it, representing both DDT and AEW, with, of course, the 10th member still to be announced. Now, you know what I like about this? It's exactly what I talked about last week. It's exactly what I wanted to talk about last week, what I mentioned last week. No goofs. Last week when we were talking about how the setup was going to be done, I was like, look, if we're doing, because if we're announcing a field and there's going to be 2 spots open for people to qualify, there is no reasonable justification to throw in a Yujiro Takahashi or a Chase Owens or a Toru Yano without them working their way in, because they're perennial, losers. They just lose matches. They're not top guys. They're not people that are prospects for New Japan. So the setup that we have here, even if I find it a little surprising in a couple of circumstances, makes sense to me. Like if we had Block A and Yujiro Takahashi would have been in there, I'm like, what the hell? What did he do to get a bye straight into a block? Nothing. Like nothing. So that's tremendous, and I think that's a big deal. We'll talk about positioning, who's coming in a little later. Let's talk about the two people being added in. The two people, the two non-New Japan guys in the tournament this year. Jake Lee, he's finally getting his G1 run. This is something that he had been angling for such a long time. Prayer hands up and tweets and all that stuff. This is something that he had been scratching and crawling for. But don't worry, he's finally getting his wish and entering the G1. Stiff, boring as hell, Jake Lee. I don't get it. I don't understand Jake Lee. I don't understand the appeal. I don't know how anyone gets behind him. I frankly do not understand it. But he's getting his wish. And on top of that, if you're asking me, he might end up joining New Japan Pro Wrestling when all this is done. And look, he's been doing a lot of the crossover feud with Tetsuya Naito he's been doing a lot of the crossover stuff for with New Japan Pro Wrestling and Tetsuya Naito, and they've been embroiled in a kind of a feud, I guess. They've been after each other. They've been after each other on these all together shows, these cross promotional shows that they've been doing. And at the Noah show this weekend, which what was the name of Grand Ship 2024, it was announced that his stable, Good Looking Guys, was going to be disbanding at Destination 2024, which is just in a couple of weeks, which is leading a lot of speculation and people believing that Jake Lee just might be headed towards New Japan Pro Wrestling, that it's finally happening. And I could not be less excited about it. Because Jake Lee is a very unexciting pro wrestler. I mean, he just is. I honestly don't know what they're going to, I called it last week. I said it'll probably be Jake Lee who's going to be in it. He'll probably be in it, and he was, and I'm not thrilled about it. But when you look at how things have been booked recently, how things have been set up, and you're like, okay, sure, it makes sense. I don't like it, but it makes sense. And he's in Tetsuya Naito's same block, right? So you could absolutely see Jake Lee getting his win back within the confines of a G1. You could absolutely see that happening. I'm not necessarily excited about it. Again, I could do without Jake Lee in my New Japan. No, it's not as if he turned business around for Noah. It's not as if he was this tremendous draw. I don't understand what the appeal is. I don't get it. He's a fine little pro wrestler that is just dull as drywall. I don't know. Kensuke Takeshita, though, in the G1, that fucking rules. That actually rules. And doing double duty representing DDT and AEW at the same time. I had thought, Claudio might have been fun, and he had hinted at the fact that he wanted to do it. But look, Takeshita in this, this is what this means. This means that Tony has no plans for Takeshita this summer. This means he had no plans for Takeshita this summer. You can take this as a positive if you're a New Japan fan, because I think Block B is absolutely benefiting from having Kensuke Takeshita in it. And he's a tremendous pro wrestler, so of course this is going to rule. But if you're an AEW fan, you can be like, how the hell does Tony Khan not have plans for Kensuke Takeshita, who is arguably one of the best guys he has on his roster? And I don't have a proper answer for that. And no, he's not flying down in the middle of July, to do a thing and then fly back. You don't do that. The schedule for the G1 is grueling enough as it is. So we're not doing that. That means leading into All In, Takeshita's got nothing to do. And now I'm hearing, people going, when you look at it that way, the people who are cheering for the idea of Kensuke Takeshita winning the TNT title in that ladder match and then going to the G1 with the TNT title makes even less sense. Because wouldn't you want the TNT title on the All In show? But then again, maybe Tony will just hotshot something towards the end once the tournament is done on August 18 and just add him in. When is All In again? It's August 25th. It's just a couple of days away. There's no build. There'll be no build to any TNT title match if Takeshita wins. So Takeshita, I think, he's not winning. And this might be, maybe this is not the best segment to have this conversation, but I think we have to start talking about how poorly used Kensuke Takeshita is being used in AEW. And we have to stop pretending that, oh, Tony has this plan. Oh, he's got something up his sleeve. I don't think so anymore. Or if he does, it's time to enact it. Because Takeshita was hot as hell when he first came in, doing a couple of matches here and there, losing, but was hot as hell. I don't think he's hot as hell anymore. And he's had huge matches. Kenny Omega. They never capitalized off of Takeshita defeating Kenny Omega. And he had a great match with Will Ospreay. Lost it, but a great match nonetheless. Yeah, I don't, I think there was a time where we could have looked at Tony, how Tony handled Kensuke Takeshita, and we were like, oh, he has a plan. But I don't think he does anymore. I think if he's like, nah, go off for the summer and do your thing. It's like, okay. And this guy is a hot prospect. This guy is Takeshita becomes a free agent tomorrow, and he's courted by everyone. And Tony I don't think he's been doing a good job. And the more he hangs out with the geeks in the mid card, the more he's going to look like one. But it rules that he's in the G1. And I love the setup. I love the fact that there's no nights off, There's no Yano match. There's no Kenta match, There's no nights off. This is going to be every night It's going to be a wrestling match. It's going to be a fight. It's going to be competition. We're going to be on fraud watch, like some people like to say, making sure that the people who say they are as good as they are indeed are able to put their money where their mouth is, essentially, right? People like Great O'Khan, Ren Narita, El Fantasmo, Gabe Kidd, Henare, guys who, Dave Finlay. This is going to be a tournament, I feel, that is set up for people to shine, to come forth and put on great matches. We're not spread over 4 blocks with everything really hard to follow and too many matches. We don't have nights off and goofballs, people that you immediately pigeon into saying, oh, this person's losing the tournament. Every match has the potential to be, at the very least, interesting. At the very least. This is a tournament, because look, you'll notice, there's no Tomohiro Ishii in the tournament as of yet. There's no Hiroshi Tanahashi in this G1. Guys, gals, non-binary pals. That's something spectacular in and about itself. These are all younger guys. Not all, but guys who all have something to prove. Someone in one of my haunts said, basically, if you can't deliver on a regular basis in a 10-man block against the top 20 heavyweights in your company, someone else is going to take your spot. Like, I feel that this is a put up or shut up, money where your mouth is tournament. It's something clicked backstage and was like, okay, let's just put this all to bed. And we're going to you guys all think you deserve these spots. Here you go. Prove to us that you deserve these spots. I'm excited about it. I feel like this is the G1 we should have got last year, right? This is the one that people were excited about with the Reiwa 3 and, how are they going to do it? And they all had practically, they all had shit tournaments, not great tournaments, and as far as results go and so on and so forth. And everyone was just sitting there with their arms like this going, what the fuck is going on? Now I feel it's the opposite. Now you've got the Reiwa 3 who are deep in this tournament here, right? And you've got other prospects that people keep putting over and saying, if only they had a chance, if only they had a moment to shine. Like El Fantasmo, like Great O'Khan. 2 very good examples there. You've got Yuya Uemura that you should put in fraud watch as well, right? Henare, I still think, people feel like he has much more to offer. There you go. Like, there's so much you can do here, so much to give. So it's really a lot of put up or shut up for a lot of these guys, in my opinion. I think this is what this tournament was conceived to do. But at the same time, I think it's a litmus test for Hiroshi Tanahashi's 10-point plan that he introduced to us a couple of weeks ago, doing this, in this press conference, at his 6-month performance review. There's a real chance, a real opportunity in this tournament to elevate a lot of guys in a short time. This was part of, this was one of the things included in his 10-point plan, that he wanted the younger talent, he wanted it to give them a shine. And you hear that a lot in New Japan. You hear them talking about wanting to give spots to the new guys. They created the TV title, and the idea was like, this is going to be for the young guys, the young hungry guys. Zack Sabre Jr., Hiroshi Tanahashi, and Jeff Cobb are your TV champions, and Matt Riddle, right? But we don't have to talk about that. Fuck off with this title being for the young guys, right? They talk about but there you go. Like, this was part of Tanahashi's 10-point plan. Working, younger stars, guys who are ready to go. Oh, you've got a bunch of them. You had them last year. You do them. You get into them. You get them this year, and in a different spot, maybe even a better spot than what they were in last year. Because here's the thing with all of these, with let's say the Reiwa 3, right? Particularly Tsuji and Umino, these guys are much more confident in who they are, what they're doing, much more than they were like a year ago. They found their footing. They're in a much better spot. So if maybe looking back, we're like, yeah, they were not ready last year, but a lot of them feel like there's something here. Shota, Tsuji in particular. Look, even Ren Narita found himself a personality with the House of Torture. Might not be the best fit. Might not be the greatest thing on earth. Running around and swinging that fucking push-up bar. Whatever. Sure. But nonetheless, it's given him a personality. He feels more confident. So again, like, this might be this. I think this is the opportunity. This is the chance. This is the chance for Tanahashi and group to make this 10-point plan seem a little, have a little more sauce to it. Show us that it is meaningful and it's not just words. In the Mr. Warren Hayes Show Discord this week, I had posted that I had posted that because I had heard things, I posted that we were best to prepare for some of the G1 regulars of the past couple of years to not be a part of the tournament this year. There's still 2 spots open, but look, like I said, there's no Hiroshi Tanahashi. There's no, as it stands right now, not immediately in the blocks. No Hiroshi Tanahashi, no Tomohiro Ishii, no Chase Owens, no Toru Yano. Like, all people who were figureheads of the G1, who were systematically in the blocks. Now they're not in here. They're in the play-in portion of it, so they still might earn a spot. But I think it's very telling, and it's probably, the messaging is not lost on me in that respect, that these stalwarts of the tournament are not in here. So there's, like I said, there's the play-in because there's still 2 spots open. And the final A and B block participants are going to be decided in this play-in tournament that begins on the current Soul Tour on July 5th. It ends with the finals on July 5th. It's going to start, they're going to start knocking the brackets out and so on and so forth. It's a knockout tournament, right? Now, the A block tournament, to fill up that spot, has Tomohiro Ishii, Yoshihashi, Callum Newman, Kenta, Chase Owens, and Yujiro Takahashi in it. As for block B, it's Hiroshi Tanahashi, Toru Yano, Oleg Boltin, Satoshi Kojima, Taichi, and TJP. Now, if you're asking me, and if you want to keep going down this path of putting in surprising new people into the tournament, Newman and Bolton should be the guys. Okay? If Tana is really serious about his 10-point plan, this is what we need to do. You get Newman, and I had called Newman too, right? I had said, you know what? Commentary's been saying, oh, Newman's been packing on the pounds. We want to bet he's going to be entered into the G1, and goddamn, I was right. So, So Newman and Bolton, I would put them in. Because look, even if we don't have, sacks of turnips like Chase Owens and Yujiro, the tournament still needs guys who can take L's. Who can easily take L's. And I think these two guys can fill those roles wonderfully. But doing it with guys who still have something to prove. Bolton, Oleg Bolton, I should say, and Caleb Newman doing this, they absolutely have something to prove. Like, they're hungry. They want to just have moments to shine. They want to give it their all. I think it's much more compelling than just sitting through another Yujiro slog where you know what the result is going to be and he's not going to care and no one else is going to care and it just turns out to be super flat. If you've got young guys who are hungry, excited, even if they don't win a fucking match of the tournament this year, there's always next year, because you know they're going to do something with Bolton, and they're going to do something with Calum Newman as well. You can tell they're both favored by the company. They both love them. So that's what I think. That's what I do. So, but this would mean no Yoshihashi, no Taichi, no, which would be admittedly weird, TJP apparently is going to graduate to heavyweight as well, good for him. I don't want him in this, it's like, I don't think it's his spot. Anyway. So basically, I think you add Callum Newman to Block A, you add Oleg Bolton to Oleg to Block B, and that's how it goes. Now, who do I think is going to win the G1? Now remember, there's 3 people per block who advance to the playoffs after, right? There's gonna be so basically like quarterfinals, semifinals, and the finals. And the winner of each block gets a bye and heads straight to the semifinals or the block finals, I should say. Go straight to the block finals. Maybe we should do that, right? Call it that way. And quite frankly, despite all my talk about new guys and I think this is Zack Sabre Jr.'s tournament to win. I think that it's his year to pull it off. I think it's there hasn't been a better moment for him to do it. I don't think he's in a better spot. I don't think he's been as complete a pro wrestler. I think he's at the peak of his powers right now. And he has been a loyal soldier to New Japan. He has done everything for the company. And he's shown that his style can translate into exciting main events. We've seen it multiple times. Exciting matches, exciting main events. This is the one. And I think a Tokyo Dome bound Zack Sabre Jr. is a lot more interesting than, especially if it's against Naito, I think is a lot more interesting than a lot of other possibilities here on this card. As much as I think we should be pushing the young talent, I don't think any of them is ready to main event the Tokyo Dome yet. Not Shota, not Tsuji. No, I don't. I really don't. We're close. Give them great programs. Build them up as convincing competitors. We're super close. But it's Zack Sabre Jr.'s to win. And that's what I'm going with. And usually I suck at predicting the G1. But I feel it's weird. I feel oddly confident on this one this year. I feel really confident. So once the blocks are all complete, I might even do a special show, a special preview of the G1. Before starting off my daily G1 coverage, which I will be doing again this year. So you want to subscribe for that, either on your favorite podcast app or on YouTube. But we'll dive a little deeper into this. I have a guest on. We'll talk about it. It'll be a good time. We all like good times. All right, final topic of the evening is going to be gifted to the New Japan Soul 2024 event. The first night at the very least, not the whole thing because the tour is just starting. But this is the tour that we're going to be on before that will lead us into the G1. And the night one happened on June 16, 2024 in Sapporo at the Hokkaido Prefectural Sports Center. I saw a lot of mixed reviews about the show. I think the business end of this show was very good to great. I think there's a lot of compelling stuff that happened in the business end, the latter end of the show. Whereas, the openers and the mid card, lower card acts, I'm like, what are we doing? There's a lot of stuff here going on where I'm like, look, I don't know. Let me just get right to it. Might as well break everything. But I'm probably going to go fairly quickly in regards to the undercard stuff. And it kind of sucks because usually on the undercard, there's 1, 2, usually like at a minimum matches, an 8-man, a 6-man, which is really, really fun. Where you're like, this is pretty fun. It's a good time. You give it 3.5 stars and go home, kind of thing. But I thought this was a miserable undercard to get through it. It was a slog. If I had been up early morning to watch this live, I would have fallen right back asleep. Like there was nothing captivating my attention. We had Daiki Nagai versus Masatura Yasuda in the opener. It's the Young Lions. The Young Lions matches are fine. They're getting their reps in. We all know what it's for, and it's okay. I like Yasuda. I like Masatori Yasuda. I think he's got something. I'm gonna keep an eye on him. Other than that, look, it went to the Young Lion 10-minute draw. It's fine. Then we had Callum Newman, Francesco Akira, Great Khan, Jeff Cobb, and TJP defeating the team of Satoshi Kojima, MLW champion Satoshi Kojima, Tomoaki Hanma, Tomohiro Ishii, Shomakato, and Katsuya Murashima, who is another guy I really like. Akira picks up the pin after returning from injury. This was his match back after getting injured during the Best Super Juniors. Okie dokie. I gave it 2.5 stars. Doki and Taichi of the Just Five Guys group defeated the House of Torture duo of Ren Narita and Yoshinobu Kanemaru. Nothing really of note. And I feel like they're setting up Narita and Taichi. This might actually be a sign that Taichi is going to be in the G1, right? Because unless I'm completely bonkers. No, not even. Wait a second. Taichi is in the B block play-in. And Narita's in B block. But I felt they were doing the little stare down. I don't know. Don't get me wrong. I'd be completely fine with Taichi in the G1. I think Taichi's tremendous. But yeah, look, let's keep moving. Bishamon defeated Dick Togo and Evil. You can only imagine. You can only imagine how this one was. Lackluster. And that's what I wrote here. This has been a lackluster show so far. Like all very tedious, run-of-the-mill. 2.25, 2.25 star specials. Tetsuya Naito and Titan, who was in town for some reason, defeated Yuya Uemura and Taka Michinoku. Again, another nothing match, another 2.25 special. When is the spark going to come from Yuya Uemura? When is the spark going to come? Because I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it. Then the never open weight 6-man tag team match. Hiroshi Tanahashi, Oleg Boltin, and Toru Yano defeated the LIJ trio of Yota Tsuji, Hiromu Takahashi, and Bushi to become once again 6-man champions. These past couple of 6-man champions of this trio of Tanahashi, Toru Yano, and Oleg Boltin have been showcases for Boltin. They have absolutely. He's gone in there and he's been working hard. Working the hardest out of his teammates, right? Well, Tanahashi is what he is today, and Yano has not been the paragon of action for years at this point. So he's getting in there, and he's the freshest, the strongest, the nimblest, and they're just letting him go. They're giving him all the room he needs to get his reps in, get some matches in there, and he's been succeeding tremendously at what he's doing. I think he's been phenomenal. He was phenomenal when they were champions, when they were doing the thing together, the trio. Now they're back doing the trio thing and they're champions again. I think it rules. And he wins the match for his team. Again, like none of this should be lost on you. New Japan Pro Wrestling sees a lot in this guy. And even if these are mid-card, lower card business affairs, Oleg Boltin feels like he's got the support of New Japan a lot more than some of the Reiwa 3 do, or did, especially at this stage. They're prepping him to be special. Trust me on this. There's something here. But otherwise, look, it's the 6-man titles. Who cares? But it's a good laboratory for Oleg Boltin to grow. Working with these two other guys. I think it's been tremendous. It's good stuff. Then we had the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team titles that were on the line. The War Dogs duo of Clark Connors and Drilla Maloney successfully retained their titles against the TMDK duo of Kosei Fujita, and Robbie Eagles. I'm correcting myself. That's fine. I should be able to do that, right? Sure. This match ruled. Incredible back and forth, plausible near finishes, had an amazing build and a great crescendo. Amazing spot here where Robbie Eagles hits the ropes, goes for a tope, and on the floor, Clark Connors and Drilla Maloney both catch him on their shoulders. And then Drilla Maloney just does the Drilla Killer on the floor and he's dead, right? Because they've been putting over the Drilla Killer being like this monstrous, destructive force of nature, this crushing finisher. And he landed it. It was tremendous. It was such a good time. Great spot. Fujita then when he's left alone with the two dudes, does his best to fight back, avoids even a high low to keep fighting, but the War Dogs land all of their finishers. All of them. And get the win. I thought this match was... I give it 4 stars. Not only did this match jolt me out of my stupor from the very boring undercard, I was like, oh, not only is this exciting and good, but this is great. This is a tremendous tag team match. I feel like Clark Connors and Maloney during the course of the Best of Super Juniors there's something that clicked. There's something there. I feel like they come across as more confident, as bigger stars. I don't know. There's something about their aura, their presentation that feels bigger since the Best of Super Juniors. They're not just like the War Dogs throwing shit around and, throwing people into chairs and shit. They can go. This was a great match. I gave it 4 stars. I loved it. Just a great match. Loved it. Hirane, this is the second time I called him Hirane. I don't know why. Henare defeated Shingo Takagi to become the never openweight champion. This is his first singles title in New Japan Pro Wrestling. And good for him. He won it in another extremely hard-hitting affair between the two. And they even teased the finish to the last match that ended in a draw. But it didn't end in a draw this time. And look, you've seen these guys wrestle before. We saw them a week ago beat the shit out of each other. They did the same thing. Rinse, repeat. They beat the shit out of each other. They're kicking out at ones. They're striking. And I didn't really like the finish where Henare, clutches the arms and does like a double short arm headbutt to win the match. I didn't really care for it, but it's fine. This is a real good match. Not great though. I think it's one of the weakest between the two. I think it's not as good as the match they had last week. And it's definitely not as good as their destruction match they had last year. But, we're splitting hairs here. This was still a great match. A great fight, I should say. Because that's what it was. It was a fight, Slam Hub Wrestling, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. I think he should have won it at Dominion too. I don't know why they decided to extend this another week. They clearly wanted to get the title off of Shingo for the G1. I don't know why they didn't just pull the trigger there. I agree with you. Dave Finlay defeated Sonata to retain the IWGP Global Heavyweight Championship. This is one of these matches where I heard a lot. I didn't watch live. I polished off the show yesterday. Finished watching it last night, and I saw a lot of talk around this match here. And I gotta say, I don't understand what the problem was with this match. I don't know what the issue was. I thought this match was great. I thought it was built to, I thought it was so well built. I thought the drama, the storytelling was so spot on in this match. And the crescendo to this exciting finish where Dave Finlay gets a dominant, no-nonsense win over a former world champion is what was tremendous. And it's definitely a feather in his cap. And I thought this match ruled. I gave this match 4 stars as well. I thought it was a fantastic time. And I was glad to see Sonata and Dave Finlay, get one that made me feel something. Because these are two wrestlers who typically, don't get the blood pumping too much, at least not for me. But this rule, I thought this was a tremendous effort, and one that sort of reignited a little bit of, showed me that there is something to both these dudes. Two dudes that are usually, I don't want to say reviled, but because that's not the right word, but two dudes that a lot of people, and myself included, mind you, I'm not trying to retcon stuff or come across as being a little bit better than anyone else here. Two guys in this here who typically don't have the favor of the community. How about that? There's bias towards Sonata. There's bias towards Dave Finlay, who have the reputations to be a little dry, be a little boring. But I think we got the opposite here. I thought we got a great match out of these two here. I enjoyed it tons. I thought it ruled. I gave it 4 stars flat. And yeah, all I can see when it comes to this match here, for people not being higher on it, is because these are two guys that fans usually don't like, that typically are disliked. And that's the only way I can see it. I thought it was good. Very good. Great. Can't say the same for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight title match in a steel cage. El Desperado defeated Show to become champion. And yeah, I thought this was, I gave this 3 stars, and it's mostly because of the effort that was put in. First ever steel cage match for the junior heavyweight title. They've put that over multiple times, and it takes forever to start because the refs are patting down Show as he's coming in and taking out all of the junk that he's carrying with him, right? And like, who cares? It's a cage match. It's like, what are we doing? And Red Shoes is in the ring, and at some point, Evil passes a wrench to Show, and Red Shoes tries to take it away. And again, I'm like, what? Why? Who cares? It's a cage match. Like, shouldn't this by default be no disqualification? And you know, Parker, right, Parker Stewart, right? Why am I drawing a blank? It's Parker. Why am I drawing a blank? Walker Stewart. I knew that wasn't right. Why did I call him Parker? Walker Stewart is on commentary, and he's telling us, obviously, Red Shoes wants to call this right down the middle. It's like, it's a cage match. And the show is kind of long. Not the show, the match is kind of long and plodding, honestly. It's and we're all waiting, right? We're all just there waiting for the House of Torture interference, because I don't trust cage matches anymore. I've seen too many cage matches in about 12 months where people get out of the cage, people get into the cage. Stuff is introduced into the cage. And I'm like, what's the point? What's the point? What's the point in doing a cage match if people can get in and out? So I'm just there and I'm waiting for House of Torture. And and there's ref bumps in the cage. And who cares? Like, who cares? And the ref bump allows House of Torture to come to ringside and start throwing chairs into the ring. They don't actually get into the ring. And then Hantai come out to fight off House of Torture. And there's chairs in the ring, and El Desperado uses the chairs. It's all fine. A couple of Pinche Locos do the trick, and he gets the win. This to me, like I said, I gave this 3 stars. This is not what I expect from junior heavyweight matches. Slow and plodding is not what I expect from a division, from a weight class that is all supposed to be about speed and excitement and high flying stuff. What I got here, there's nothing that made this feel like a junior heavyweight match. Didn't feel special. And frankly, I wasn't expecting much. It's a House of Torture match. So, like I said, I'm sitting there and I'm waiting for House of Torture to interfere. I'm just twiddling my fingers and I'm like, is it happening now? No, not just, almost. Kind of. There was a wrench. Oh, we're going to wait some more. Like, these are patterns. And it's annoying and it's frustrating and it sucks. And it takes away from the reason why you watch it. Like, and even if you take this, as a hardcore match, right? Let's say you want to frame it in that view, okay? El Desperado can do so much better than what was done here. He can do so much better than this. We know because we've seen it before. This match felt beneath him. It didn't feel like a great match. It didn't feel like a great hardcore match. Nothing connected. I don't know. I don't think it was. I don't think it was all that good. I gave it 3 stars, but mostly for the effort. Like, there was some fun stuff, but look, I don't think it's a great match for the coronation of El Desperado, Best of Super Juniors winner this year, to win the junior heavyweight title. I don't think it made it feel special. It didn't come across as anything special. They tried with the ladder stipulation. It kind of ended up being junk. There you go. So, listen. Couple of matches that I can recommend here easily. I think Dave Finlay versus Sonata is absolutely worth your while. I think the War Dogs versus TMDK junior tag matches, junior tag title match is absolutely worth your while. The rest is skippable. The business end of this match was good to great. I enjoyed it overall, but the first half of this match, holy crap! It took a certain amount of willpower to get that one done. Put it that way. So there you go. So that was New Japan Soul. We're getting into G1 season, so this is all getting really exciting. So this is one of my favorite times of year. So it's going to be a good time. It always is a good time. It's always a good time when we start getting into this stuff. So yeah. Yes. Am I being optimistic about New Japan? Yes, I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm excited to see how this is going to go. There you go. And we are going to wrap things up on that note, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for joining me today for another edition of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. Hey, listen, if you're also inclined, leave a like here on youtube.com/Mr. Warren Hayes if you haven't already. Or you can also leave a 5-star review or 5-star rating on your favorite podcast applications, whether it's Apple Podcast, Spotify. That stuff helps grow the podcast tremendously and would appreciate your support on that front. I will be back. Hello, dog. I will be back. Got sidetracked there. I will be back on Thursday, hopefully this week, for another AEW Dynamite review. And yeah, that's pretty much it. We're going to wrap this up for today. I hope you all enjoyed the show. Thank you very much for joining me, whether you came in live or not. And I will see you next time.